Welcome! Last year, I set out on a mission to get shredded. And in all honesty, this was my starting point. We were still in Poland, traveling. That was October 2023. And I thought, you know what, it's time. It's time for me to get shredded. And I thought it was gonna take me around 90 days. That was my idea, right? 90 days to get shredded. Boy, was I wrong. Over-expected it. But nevertheless, year later, well, not year later, this is October 2023. Around this time, this is June, you could say, we managed to get shredded, all right? Last year, big shred. So in this video, I want to break down the strategy that I've used in order to get shredded. I want to show you what it is that I do in order to get shredded, because in all honesty, we come round to the time again where I will be beginning the same journey one more time. I've been lean bulking for a few months, kind of managed to get to this point. This isn't a photo of me right now, but in essence, I'm basically lean bulk back up to here. Now we're gonna take it back down to the shreds again, because listen, why not? You know what I mean? I enjoy being shredded in summer. At the starting point of me in October 2023, I was weighing between 95 to 99 kilo. Now that's a big gap. And the reason it's a big gap is because I wasn't necessarily paying too much attention to my nutrition, all right? I was living in a good way. Now, let's not get it wrong. Me being in that position, me being in that shape, that's still lean. That's still a really good shape. That's a shape that I've worked on for many, many years, all right? So in order to get shredded, for anyone, or for me to get shredded, I first need to be lean. That's probably the rule number one. Now, the approach that I would take while getting shredded would be similar to getting lean, but slightly different. So, as I said in this video, I want to take you through the exact approach that I've taken last year. I want to show you what I've done. I want to show you the steps that I took in order to bring myself back down to a shredded type of look, right? So, first of all, I want to cover the journey, because I've been shredded a few times, and I'm recognizing some things that happen when you aim to get shredded, when you begin, when you start to get shredded. So the thing that you got to do is you got to bring down your weight. Your weight is going to have to drop. Yeah. Even when you go to the gym and you build muscle, depending on where you are, if you're a beginner, you will build muscle faster than someone that's, let's say, at my level. But nevertheless, you never build muscle as quickly as you lose fat, unless that's your aim and you're recompositioning and, you kind of, unless recomposition is your aim and you're not pulling down the calories. But whenever you want to lose fat, all right, whenever you want to trim down, reveal those muscles, you will be losing weight, even if you go to the gym and gain muscle, okay? So I began on my journey, let's say I was around 99 kilo, and I began applying certain strategies and using certain tools to bring that weight down. I'm gonna show you those tools in a second, yeah? So the journey, whenever I get shredded, as a matter of fact, whenever I've seen anyone get shredded, it's not a linear journey. You don't just, cut the weight and that's it. I feel that the journey is more of a up and down type of weight, all right? And on my journey, I usually would make some progress, I cut down some weight, okay? And then I would gain a new low in my weight. And then I would try and learn how to live within that low for a little while, all right? So this is kind of the progress line from me from October all the way down to June. And as you can see, first stage, I make a little bit of progress. I drop some weight. I'm about 97 kilo. This is the kind of look, I'm kind of looking good. I'm thinking to myself, geez, man, I'm shredded already, all right? But here we go. Weight fluctuates, things fluctuate. When you have higher body fat, then body fat can fluctuate. But when you are lean and you on your way to get shredded, there is another thing that stands in your way, and that is water fluctuations. So the only way that I can describe it is, if you go out on a night out and you get drunk, then your body becomes dehydrated the next day, right? So if I woke up after a night out, I would look pretty fucking good, despite of the fact that I'm probably not feeling too good because my body's dehydrated. So what happens when you're dehydrated is that the water, all right, gets pulled into your muscles, and your body basically doesn't have much water, all right, between your skin and your muscle, yeah? But this process fluctuates, all right? The water retention kind of fluctuates. So the other side of that would be, let's say I have a really salty meal. Let's say I go out, have a cheat meal, or I cheat for a few days. Let's say I go for a few days and I binge out. What would tend to happen then is I wouldn't necessarily gain more fat. I would gain more water between my muscle and my skin, right? I'll give you a little description here, although it might sound confusing, but I feel like it's an important point. It's gonna sound fucking complicated, but hopefully I can make it simple. So let the red circle represent your muscle, right? This is your muscle cell. And the area outside of it is called the extracellular area, which is the area outside of the muscle cell. This is where your water would be stored. So your water in your body can be either outside of the muscle cell or inside of the muscle cell. All right. And why is this important? Why am I talking about it? It's because whenever you dieting to get shredded, what's going to happen is you will go through moments where that water fluctuates and you will go through the so-called flat phase. So again, let me explain. Flat phase would be the moment when the water would be outside of my muscle cell, between my skin, and I'm looking a little bit flabbier, right? I'm not looking as shredded. And those fluctuations occur on weekly, monthly basis, sometimes even daily. You know what I mean? So during this journey, I could wake up one day and be like, wow, I'm looking really fucking good. And then the next day I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, I feel like I'm not shredded anymore. So as I'm going through my transformation, there is two things that I'm paying attention to. One being my weight. Okay, this is the main tool that I'm utilizing in order to know whether I'm moving in the right direction. In order to track my weight, I use two things. One is this Happy Scale app on an iPhone, which helps me log my weight each and every day. And based on me logging the weight each and every day, it kind of figures out an average weight loss per week. So it would essentially say to me, all right, you're moving in the right direction, you're losing about half a kilo a week. Or it would say that I'm not losing any weight. And I would base everything that I do with nutrition based off of the app. So number one is Happy Scales. Number two, I have bathroom scales that I keep in my bathroom and I weigh myself every day at the same time. So for me, it's in the morning, I wake up, I go for a piss and I'll jump on the scales before I drink anything. So that way I can be most, what's the word I'm looking for? Accurate, yeah, like it's, you know what I mean? The weight fluctuates. If I weigh myself at different times of the day, there's more opportunity that the weight is gonna look different, yeah? So I'm doing that every day. Now, some of you might be thinking that that's obsessive. In all honesty, I feel like that gives me the best kind of view on data. I try not to base my feelings and emotions on how much I weigh. You know what I mean? To some people it might be hard. You're like, I'm weighing different today. I understand my body fluctuates, it goes through ups and downs. I don't obsess over my daily weight. What I do obsess over is inside of Happy Scales, whether the app is showing me if I'm moving in the right direction, if I'm in a good weekly average. Okay, so that's tool number one, me weighing myself, right? The second tool is, in essence, what I do with nutrition. And there are only two things that I do with nutrition. Number one, I remain in a calorie deficit, so I consume less calories than what my body needs. And number two, I consume a high protein diet, okay? And how do I achieve that? I would use an app called MyFitnessPal to track my calories and my macros for the day. I would set a calorie goal in order to figure out your calories or my calories. I've got some equations that I can do, but in all honesty, you can go on Google and just type in calculate my calories and it comes up with some form of calculator. And in all honesty, you don't even need to be right with it the first time. You agree with yourself, or I agree with myself on the amount of calories that I will consume. And I start off with that. Let's say as an example is 3,000 calories. I would begin consuming 3,000 calories a day and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So in my case, 95 kg, that would be 95 times 2.2, just over 200 grams of protein per day. And those would be my nutritional rules. One, do not over exceed my calories, so be below 3,000 calories. And number two, consume 200 grams of protein. And I would begin moving like that throughout the day, consuming the 3,000 calories and 200 grams of protein and weighing myself each and every day. Now, what would I do? I would give myself time. I wrote, don't push, slow, steady, yeah? Because in all honesty, in order for your body to start biting onto it, you have to give it some time. So take a week on those calories, track yourself in the app. That's what I've done. I tracked myself. And after a week, if nothing changed, then I would either lower the calories a little bit, or I would be honest with myself and I would say, have I actually been honest with the way I track? You know, have I weighed my food properly? Or, basically that. Yeah? Am I honest with the amount of things that I track? And I would just bounce between those two based on my body weight. That's in essence what I do, all right? That's in essence what everyone does. Now, there are gonna be some strategies that help me go through this process easier, and I'll cover them in a second. But first, let me go back to this graph. So I was following this strategy, and in all honesty, I've done it so many times where I don't even need to use MyFitnessPal anymore. I kind of know my body, and I kind of know what I've done previously and the amounts of food that I can have in order to start losing weight and moving in the right direction. Now, obviously, if I was doing this for the first time, I wouldn't have a clue what fucking 100 grams of rice looks like, or you know what I mean? The less I would know about nutrition, the more I would rely on this app. And the more I would know about this, the more times I would repeat this process, the more you can move away from MyFitnessPal and kind of forget about it, as long as you are losing weight. So overall, October 2023, I started off, let's say 99 kg, and I moved down all the way to about 90 to 91 kilos when I ended up in June, which is about 10 kilos less, all right? Now, in Poland, when we were living there, I went for a DEXA scan. DEXA is a machine that you can, get yourself into, and it measures your body composition. It tells you how much muscle you got, how much bone density, and how much body fat you have on your body. So at that moment in time, when I looked at myself, I thought maybe 12, 13%. Boom, that was a lie. The DEXA scan showed me I was at 16% body fat. So that was my starting point. I didn't measure my body fat here once I got shredded, but I can clearly see that it was below 10% for sure, right? I definitely could have lost more fat, but I was pretty pleased with it. I remained shredded throughout the summer, and that was good for me, okay? October 2023, I begin eating less, stepping on scales, weighing myself, and noticing that obviously my weight is dropping. Now, I'm emphasizing this for the last time. During my progress, I would hit a phase where I call it progress phase, and then I would hit a phase what I call a flat phase. So, explained it already, flat phase is when I maintain more water weight between my skin and my muscles. So while I'm going through my transformation, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, in May I'm already starting to kind of look like this, all right? So May I'm about 93 kg. So until this point here, I would often go through these phases of being looking kind of shredded and then moving back to a flat phase, all right? So shredded, less water between my muscles, looking good, and then other days, flat phase where I'm kind of maintaining more water between my muscles. Now, this flat phase is a little problematic motherfucker, and let me explain it. Let me explain why. Because before, when I first started doing this fat loss thing and getting shredded, especially for the first time, I would reduce my calories, which would mean, one, I have a little bit less energy. Two, because I have less energy, I might start thinking that when I'm at the gym, I might not have as much oomph in me, which is kind of a lie. I still have the oomph, but your mind starts to play tricks on you. You start to think like, oh, I'm feeling weak today, all right? And you look in the mirror, all right, and you reducing the overall volume from your body. Like here, I felt bulky, you know what I mean? I'm walking around, my t-shirts are tight, like I'm feeling big. Once I start reducing my weight, I kind of lose that, you know what I mean? I start losing a little bit of size, and if I'm in a flat phase, I'm still not looking shredded. So the flat phase can be a phase where someone quits because they look in the mirror and they think, one, I'm looking skinny, two, I'm looking worse than I looked when than when I started, all right? And I feel like every single person getting shredded will enter that flat phase, and you don't necessarily know when it hits you. It's very random. But just look out for it, you know what I mean? You wake up, you look in the mirror, you're like, Jesus, bro, man, I look like fucking shit, all right? So over this transformation, over those few months that I was getting shredded, I would experience this flat phase several times until I probably hit May time, when I reduced my body fat to a degree where it kind of stopped mattering to a degree, all right? Even if I had a little bit more water, it didn't really matter. Once I hit May and then I went into June, once I hit the 91 kilo on my body, like I didn't necessarily struggle with the water fluctuation anymore in my body. I just look fucking dry. And geez, man, now even looking at these photos, I'm excited for this year's shred. All right, I'm very fucking excited for it. So that's the journey. What you're gonna have to do if you want to get shredded is you're going to have to stay in a calorie deficit while consuming a high protein diet, while reducing your body weight to a point where you essentially melt pretty much all the fat off your body and you're left with a shredded physique. This shit takes time. It takes way longer than originally anticipated. Yeah, I thought 90 days to get me from this point to this point here. It took me 7-8 months. All right. So, you know what I mean? Just whenever you start in, if you want to get shredded, just keep that in mind. Shit is going to take you way longer. It's a long-term investment. Let's put it that way. So now, how did I do it? What are the strategies that I've used to do it? All right, I need to reduce my calories and be in a deficit. I need to consume a high-protein diet, but how do I do it? Now, that's the question. Let's answer it. Now, let me break down the strategy and what it is that I do. All right, I've got 2 strategies prepped up over here. Nutrition and training, I'll cover them separately. First, starting with nutrition, because in all honesty, to me, getting shredded is all about nutrition. It's all about your diet. It's all about your food. Going to the gym takes care of a separate part. We will cover that in a second. So I have 2 approaches when it comes to nutrition. I've got the get lean approach and I've got the get shredded approach. This one's easier to maintain. All right, this is what I would do majority of the times. And then get shredded is the hardcore motherfucker where if I really want to push my body, which I need to do in order to keep trimming down and remain sane, then I would do the get shredded thing. So first, get lean approach. This, in essence, is the same thing that I would use if I was even fatter than that. You know what I mean? Here I'm at 16% body fat, but if I was above that, if I got to the point where I can't even see my abs, I would start using the get lean approach until I drop to about 15% body fat again, and then I can start using a get shredded. What's the difference? As I said, get lean, easier, get shredded, a hardcore motherfucker. Now, when you begin to lose fat, when you begin to lose body weight, your body will notice. And the way it's gonna notice it is by making you fucking hungry. You're gonna start to become hungry. So I believe that the biggest thing that I had to learn in order to be able to get shredded was to change my relationship with hunger, all right? Because there's no going like that, there's no mute in it. Like you can't go through this process without feeling hungry at some points in time. And there are 2 different relationships that you can have with hunger. Look, listen, you can zoom into my little smiley. Do you want to pause for a second? Smiley face and a sad face. So 2 relationships that I could have with hunger would be either getting hungry and getting, upset about the fact that I'm hungry. I'd be like, I'm so hungry. I'd like to eat. Or I could switch my relationship with it and just kind of challenge myself. If I got into that hungry mode and I felt hungry, I would internally challenge myself to be like, all right, well, let's see how long I can ride inside of this hungry feeling. Yeah. And I would also tell myself, all right, well, I know that being hungry kind of means that I'm in a deficit and it's working. And in that way, I would kind of know that this, I'm moving in the right direction. So I changed my relationship with hunger and I started to kind of enjoy it in a way. But the majority of what I would do with nutrition is managing my hunger, all right? So all of these things that I'm about to show you, these things become habitual, and this is something that I would do 90% of the time during my day, and then 10% of the time I would kind of just like let go and let loose. Yeah. What do I mean by that? I'm not a bodybuilder. I don't do this because I want to step on a stage. I do it as a lifestyle thing. I do it because one, I enjoy looking shredded, but at the same time, it's just part of my life. You know what I mean? So because it's part of my life, I don't necessarily put too many pressures on myself. I don't say, oh my God, I have to get shredded and kind of like punish myself if I do something outside of the diet. I would diet 90% of the time, and then let's say I go out with my friends and I'm having food. I'm not gonna sit there with my fucking Tupperware and eat my broccoli and rice. I would actually have a normal meal. I'd kind of enjoy my life. But as I said, I've got a good relationship with it because 90% of the time I'm good, 10% of the time I just live. Yeah. Now, if this was the other way around, let's say you let loose, and 90% of the times you're just completely fucking out there doing whatever you want to do, and then only dieted 10% of the time, well, then obviously that's a losing fucking strategy. But my strategy is 90% good, 10% bad. Hence, I call it the imperfect journey, because my journey is imperfect. I'm not trying to be perfect. And I now know that by having this approach where I don't punish myself when I mess up, it kind of like, I don't know, it kind of like it removes this, you know, when you want something and then you start moving after it, but in your mind, you have a certain plan that you're going to be perfect. Obviously, you ain't going to be fucking perfect. And then you do something outside of the plan and then you just feel like a fucking bag of shit for a few days even, you know, punishing yourself. And then you try and jump back on the plan. That's not part of my life. My life is the plan. I'm on the plan all the time. I'm habitually doing these things. I just enjoy it. And then 10% of the times I'm loose. Now, there might be a reason for that. Is because one, I said, you kind of have to become friends of hunger because you will get hungry. But number two, you have to kind of become friends of pain, you know, weirdly enough, yeah? And I feel that that's the truth. For anyone that goes to the gym, and especially if you want to go to the shredded physique, that you're gonna endure some fucking pain. You're gonna wake up every now and then, you know, the hunger's gonna get to you. You're gonna look in the mirror and be in a flat phase and kind of like, you know, hate yourself. So one, you're putting all this effort into losing fat, then you look in the mirror and you're not even looking the way you want to look, and you could have this negative mindset and this negative conversation with yourself. Like all of that is kind of painful, yeah? But what you do is, in what I've done is I started to just become aware of all of that pain and kind of become friends with it. Like when you go to the gym and you're pushing near your limits and you get to that last final rep, it hurts, you know what I mean? But eventually you begin to enjoy that pain, or at least for me, that's the case. So it's the same thing when it comes to nutrition. It's a painful process. You will be hungry. Get used to it. For me, that's what I had to say to myself, get used to it and learn how to fucking enjoy it. Be friends with the pain, be friends with the hunger, yeah? So now, let me break down those two separate nutritional approaches, but I want you to keep in mind that the majority of what I would do with my nutrition, what I've learned is just purely managing hunger, right? How can I approach nutrition from a point of view where my hunger is being under management? So the Get Lean approach would follow 4 separate meal plans. And over my years, I've developed recipes that essentially I just kind of switch through. And what I would do is I would have my basic plan, let's say here, yeah? It says weekly meal planner. What I would usually do is I would eat pretty much the same shit all week. I'd have the same breakfast, I'd have the same lunch, and I'd probably alter between 2 different dinners. And I would just continue doing that until I get bored of one of the things like breakfast or lunch, and then I would switch it round. But the way I would approach it is, 1, I'm making sure that I'm in a calorie deficit and then I consume enough protein. These are the only 2 rules that you can follow. In all honesty, there are hundreds of different strategies, keto, fasting, whatever. All of them would work if they just simply apply to those 2 things. If you're in a calorie deficit and if you're consuming enough protein, yeah? And this is my approach. This is what's been working for me. So Get Lean, an easy approach. I would have a breakfast, and a breakfast could be, an example of a breakfast would be a yogurt with some nuts, with some berries, maybe a little bit of honey, all right? High protein, few different bits to keep it interesting. It keeps you satisfied, yeah? Then I would move on and I would train. And after that, I would have lunch. For lunch, in order for me to keep the calories lower and protein high, I would have a reduced carb meal. So this could be something like a chicken salad. All right, I barely have chicken salads. Let me give you another example. This could be a leg of chicken, all right? Or it could be rotisserie chicken with a little bit of Nando's sauce. Boom, very satisfying for me. So I'm keeping away from the carbs, not because carbs are bad, but because just by not consuming carbs, at least with one of my meals, I am reducing the amount of calories inside of my day, and that gives me an opportunity to have a bigger dinner in an evening. Now, snacks. I would consume snacks. Usually, I would get quite peckish after my lunch, and when I'm going through the Get Lean approach, the rule is simple. Just stick to the calories, all right? So, you know, this could be either some fruits, some nuts, or it could be something naughty. But what I've noticed with the naughty things, let's say even with rice cakes, if something tastes really good, and let's say I say to myself, oh, I'm allowed to have 1 rice cake. it's so hard for me to just have one. If I open a pack of rice cakes, I can fucking guarantee you the whole thing is gone. So what I've realized is sometimes snacks that feel really good end up fucking taking me down the wrong path, because I don't want to sit on a sofa knowing that I've just had 2 rice cakes and then the other pack is sitting in the fridge. I can't, you know what I mean? I'm an animal, bruv. I'll go after those rice cakes, you know what I mean? So snacks, the cleaner I keep it, the easier it is for me to kind of maintain with it. And the best snack would be a high protein snack. So, you know, pepperoni sausage or something that's higher in protein, because that keeps my satiety for longer. And then dinner comes around. This would be a carbohydrate type of meal where I would have a complex meal of carbs like rice, chicken or other source of protein, meat, and some vegetables. All right, so get lean approach. In essence, what I'm doing here is I'm just remaining in a slight calorie deficit, about 200 to 300 below my baseline calories. And then every now and then, if I stop losing weight, I would readjust and I would pull back some of them calories. All right. That's the get lean approach. And in all honesty, you could probably get shredded with the get lean approach if you took long enough time. But I also developed a second approach, which I call the get shredded approach. This bad boy is a little bit more hardcore. All right. This bad boy is more hardcore, but it gets you results quicker. Also, the fact that it's quicker doesn't mean it's better, because it's hard to maintain. All right. The get shredded approach, which I'll present to you in a second. Listen, I could maybe last 7 days or maybe 14 days. I don't know what my streak is, meaning how many days I follow the get shredded approach in a row. But I just know that when I follow it, I start to lose my sanity. I start to lose my mind. But this get shredded approach really helps me pull down that weight. So I would bounce between both of these strategies. First, I would really learn how to be in this get lean strategy. That would be my habitual day-to-day life, all right? Remaining slightly below my calories, consuming high protein, having a few different recipes that I figured out that really helped me achieve that. And then when I feel fruity, when I feel frisky, when I want to keep things not interesting, when I want to just really add fuel to the fire to start melting that fat off my body, I'd enter the get shredded approach. Get shredded approach is all about managing hunger, because I will be fucking hungry. In a get shredded approach, I pull back the calories down a lot more drastically. Yeah. And even to degrees where I'll be in a deficit of 1,000 to 1,500 calories below my baseline. All right. And how do I do that? What does that mean? In all honesty, I don't even count calories here too much. Yeah. I just focus on 2 things. Number 1, I skip breakfast. I fast. All right. And when I fast, that would mean that I wake up in the morning and I wouldn't have my meal until lunchtime, which usually would be after I go to the gym. Or at least I would try to pull that meal as long as I can. Why am I doing that? I would kind of be hungry in the morning, but what I've recognized is that if I don't put food in my mouth, I don't think of food. As soon as I put food in my mouth, I start thinking of food. So what it would mean is that if I skip that first meal, I'm kind of not thinking about it. It helps me manage hunger. Other 2 things. Because I'm not eating as much, my body has less minerals and vitamins inside of it. You know, that comes from food. So what I would do is I would supplement with Celtic salt. As a matter of fact, I actually do it even on Get Lean. But Celtic salt would contain trace minerals, about 82 trace minerals that are vital for your body to be able to function like a normal human being, right? And I would wake up, I would have a glass of water with Celtic salt in it, and that would provide my body with the minerals, making it kind of easier for me to maintain the fast, all right? Without it, I noticed that I started to get headaches, kind of feel weird. So Celtic salt's been a big game changer. And the last thing is coffee. I like coffee, I enjoy coffee. I just had a cup of coffee right now. Black coffee, caffeine in itself is an amazing appetite suppressant. If I'm drinking coffee, I don't necessarily think about food. And also what I've noticed is this is the time when I'm the most productive. So in all honesty, it's a win-win strategy. By skipping breakfast, I become a killer. If I have tasks to execute, I'll just do it and I don't even think about food. The reason I skip breakfast also is because that's the busiest time in the morning. That's the busiest time of the day. And when I'm busy, I don't think of eating. So I skip breakfast and then I move on to lunchtime. So what do I do for lunch? again, I'm sticking with the reduced carb approach. I'm reducing the carbohydrates, I'm pulling them back, I'm removing a food group because then I have more calories, I'm burning more calories, I'm reducing more calories. So in all honesty, the type of breakfast that I would have during lunch, the one that worked for me best would be a big piece of steak, all right? I'd have a big piece of sirloin steak, about 300 grams of steak with some salt, sometimes an egg on top of that. And I would eat the steak, and that steak would, in essence, my satiety is really high after. So meaning I eat a steak and I feel full, I feel good, yeah? Or rather than eating a steak, I would eat some form of meat that contains some fat, all right? So if I'm having chicken, it would be like a leg of chicken with a bit of skin, or pork with a little bit of fat. I noticed that obviously a fatty meat would provide me with the energy that I need, and my satiety would be high. And weirdly enough, because I'm not spiking my sugar, because I'm not consuming any carbohydrates, what I noticed is that I feel pretty good. Like I could maintain that and go like that throughout the day. Now, my dinner, all right? Sorry, moving on to snack. My snack, at this moment in time, I'll remove all processed foods from my snacks. I'll remove all snacky, tasty things like rice cakes, all right? Rice cakes with a little bit of chocolate. So I'll remove that shit because, as I said, if I have one, I will have 10, all right? There'll be no stopping me. At this moment in time, I'm purely trying to manage hunger because the more I can remain in this, the quicker I can pull down my body weight, the quicker I can pull down my fat. So my snacks would contain of either protein, so another steak, I would have a steak, a smaller amount of steak, and I would just, munch on that steak, or some form of meat, or a yogurt, and a few little pieces of fruit, all right? Not too much, but that kind of would, again, help me keep sane and not really spike any ideas where I would want to overconsume some foods. Processed foods, a complete no-no. Now, I'll move on to dinner, and with dinner, there'll be two options. If I really wanted to be hardcore, I would remain on my reduced carb approach. So another piece of steak, or as I said, some fatty meat, and that'd be it. And then I would finish the day, and that would be a pretty hardcore type of approach where in essence, it's like a carnivore diet. But what I did notice, especially while going through this, doing this kind of carnivore type diet approach, I don't want to fully call it carnivore because I'm still consuming some fruit. Boy, it's actually not that bad. It's actually not that bad. I would do it for streaks of, let's say, 7 to 10 days as a challenge. I would challenge myself. I would say, all right, boom, we go on a get shredded type of diet. I would follow through with this approach for a week or as long as I can do it. And then I would return back to the get lean approach. All right. Now it's important that I habitually know what to do with this get lean approach, because for anyone that would go on a hardcore kind of diet, you could end up yo-yoing. You heard middle-aged ladies yo-yoing, you know what I'm saying? They go on a diet, they cut their calories, they eat soup for a week or two, and then they're so fucking hungry when they come out of it that they end up snacking shit in their bedroom at night. Who knows? Yeah. So I avoid yo-yoing back up by, again, understanding that I'm going to be fucking hungry and I'm cool with it because I'm cool with pain. And then I jump back onto the get lean plan where I kind of have more of a balanced approach. So my journey to get from here to there, in essence, was all to do with nutrition and was all to do with this approach, where I would either be in a get lean kind of phase where I just take care of my calorie deficit, yeah, and I'm tracking my protein intake, and I'm making sure that I'm not over exceeding the amount of calories that I set for myself. I weigh myself each and every day, and if my Happy Scale app is showing me that my weight is going in the right direction because it figures out my weekly average, then I'm cool. If that doesn't happen, if my weekly average slows down, then I just pull back the calories a little bit. And then every now and then, if I'm really feeling fruity and I really want to add the fuel to the fire, I would go on a get shred approach where I fast in the morning. I basically consume meat. That's in essence what I would consume all day long. And I try to remain in there for as long as I can. All right. Now, whenever I'm doing any of these approaches, what I emphasize is 3 things. 1, being curious, approaching it from the point of curiosity, being aware, paying attention to how I'm feeling, how my body's reacting to all those things. And I'm open to trying new things. You know what I mean? So whatever you would do or whatever I would do, if it's a new meal, if it's a new recipe, I try to pay attention to how that makes me feel, right? Because I know that, let's say, the yogurt in the morning, that keeps me full for quite a long amount of time. But let's say I try a different recipe with the same amount of calories, the same amount of protein, but for some reason that recipe may make me feel different, you know? That's one of the reasons why I removed protein powder out of my routine. I don't drink protein powders. They just don't make me feel too good. I get a weird headache and my digestion isn't too nice. So I just remove protein. I don't have any protein. I really just rely on food sources for my, for my nutrition. So that's my approach, okay? Now, training, which is the last part. Training, there's only one thing that I'm taking care of, and that is progressive overload. What do I mean by that? I try to do more than last time every time I go to the gym, despite of the fact that I am on a calorie deficit. And you know, it's harder, you could argue that it's harder to be able to force progress. It's harder for you to push yourself. I kind of notice that the progress never leaves. Sometimes it's small, sometimes it's tiny, yeah? But the progress never leaves. Weirdly enough, sorry, let me explain progressive load, then progressive overload, then I'll tell you what's weird. Progressive overload to me means I go to the gym, I drop on the floor, let's say right now, I do push-ups, and I would do push-ups all out. And if today I can do 20 push-ups, okay, if that's my max, that's literally the maximum push-ups I can do, then the next time I'm at the gym, I will try and do 21, all right? Or I would try and do 22. Or I would put a little weight on me, and then I would try and do as many reps. So the thing that I do is every time I'm at the gym, I either try to do more reps with the same weight or perform the exercise with a bigger weight to continuously progress. I track it using an app. I've got an app, my own app. I've got an app that I use with me and my clients. And what I do is I just track the weight, I track the reps, I track how hard the exercise felt. And every time I'm at the gym, I check my exercise history. I see, all right, last week on incline bench press, I did this amount of weight. Let me try and challenge myself. So that's what I do with training. It doesn't matter what training program you're following, okay? It could be you training at home. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, I say recommend it. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. I mean, this wasn't built at home. I'm definitely doing more than just workouts at home. But principle remains the same. Pick an exercise, challenge yourself every time you're at the gym. Try and do more than what you did last time. All right, pretty fucking simple. Now, question of cardio. I don't do cardio. All right, now I started to do cardio for different reasons. I'm interested in taking my heart rate through these degrees. I want to know how my body responds. You know, I'm just interested. I'm curious. Yeah, but I never really done cardio to try and pull down my calories. Yeah, but do notice this: the more activity you have during your day, the easier it's going to be for you to remain in a calorie deficit. So if I just sat in bed, I would have to consume way less calories than if I'm moving around, okay? So any form of activity like walking, playing sport, anytime you move in your body and doing something, that is helpful with, you know, with your ability to lose weight, lose fat, because you are moving more, you're burning more calories. So cardio has its place, definitely useful. I can't say that I ever used it in order to be able to pull my body down to these extreme levels, because I don't. All right, that's not something I do. It does have its place, but I don't do it. So, guys, in essence, this is it. I hope this video makes sense. It's been a pleasure breaking down my strategy and my approach. To summarize it real quick, October 2023, 99 kg, 16% body fat. Then in June 2024, I'm shredded. And the way I got there is by simply downloading the Happy Scale app, weighing myself each and every day while logging the weight into my Happy Scale app or Happy Scales. And the way I would lose weight is by figuring out the amount of calories that I have to consume each and every day, pulling that down just below my baseline, sticking to those calories, not over exceeding them, consuming the high protein diet, enough protein for your body to maintain your muscle mass. And I would check inside a Happy Scale if I'm moving in the right direction. If I'm not losing weight, I pull down my calories further. And that's the strategy. The way I achieve that is by having a few meals that are staple meals for me, that I know work for me, that one, help me keep fuller for longer, all right? Meals that provide me higher levels of satiety, and meals that allow me to, in essence, consume the right amount of calories with the right amount of protein. all right? And then sometimes I go into the get shredded mode where I absolutely go ham on the calorie reduction, where I just consume meat, where I test my limits. And then once I get tired of that, or I just simply can't do it, I would return back onto my normal meal plan. And that's in essence what I do, guys. So this is my strategy for getting shredded. Now, 2025 is here. I've been lean bulking for a few weeks now, a few months you could say, and it's time to get shredded again. So if you're interested in how I do this again, I'll be sharing my journey daily, either on Instagram, Caesar King, or on YouTube here. So just give it a follow, give it a subscribe, whatever, man, whatever. I want to share the journey with you. Let's see how shredded we can get in 2025. So that's it for the video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.